How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap Zone video. So we have the Conquest meta tier list for October 6th. Technically the article came out yesterday, October 5th, but I'm filming this early morning, October 6th, and you're seeing this on October 6th. So normally these Conquest tier lists are pretty quick, but there are some exciting decks that are on this list now. One of them in tier 3, Junk, is here all the way at the bottom, and Thor Miracle is barely scraping by in tier 2, but it has a pretty good win rate, and I want to point that out. Let's go through the list really quick. We have a silent performer as Bounce. It hasn't been so silent before, but it is Bounce. It has gotten some help with Elsa added to the meta. Tier 1 decks, Move, Iron Patriot, and Loki Collector. Those were the top 3 decks last week, but in a different order. Move was 3rd on the list. Now it's number 1. Then we have Iron Patriot and Loki Collector. Not much change. The lists have Elsa thrown in there, which has improved these decks quite a bit. Loki is still doing okay in Conquest with Mobius still in the game, still performing pretty good, and with a nerf to Kitty, but it's included Elsa and it's got slightly a little bit of a boost. So tier 2, we have Shuri Sauron and Evolved Doomwave. No changes there. Same decks, same deck list. Those seem to be my new, like, old faithful decks. If you want something that performs well and does what it's trying to do, Shuri Sauron is there. Same with Evolved Doomwave. Evolved Doomwave sticking around even with Mobius in the game is a little bit surprising, but I mean, I guess High Evo and Doomwave is just good as a whole. Lastly, in tier 2, Thor Miracle. Oh, sorry, I skipped Deadpool Destroy. Deadpool Destroy is up from tier 3, mainly because there's not a whole lot of armors in the meta, so it kind of opens up the ability for this deck to go nuts. However, with Mobius in the game, it kind of makes the death harder to get off at a discounted price, so still struggling a little bit in tier 2, but it's up from tier 3. And then we have Thor Miracle wrapping up tier 2. I'm going to go over that deck list in a little bit. It got a boost with Elsa. And then we have the tier 3 decks. I don't normally go over them, but I just want to show the Junk deck at the end. I was having a lot of fun with Junk a few months ago, but now with Junk, you're trying to clog up your opponent's side. If your opponent is playing Elsa and you can clog up that last slot, they can't get value out of her. So again, we'll go over all these. Gonna skim through a few of them because we've seen them before and we've seen them pretty often. First up is Move. This list does not have Eliath. Last week's list had Eliath in it. It was the Eliath Move. That list is actually right down here. I don't know if this is the exact same one, but it's similar. I guess it can't be the exact same because it has Elsa, but it is similar, and it's a little bit less prone to Mobius shenanigans. But Move with Elsa just got a pretty good boost. If you can fill up a lane, play Nightcrawler to fill up that lane with Elsa out, then your Nightcrawler gets +3. You can move it out. You can play your Jeff in that lane. You can move it out. You can play a Stilk in that lane. Hopefully it gets bumped out. Spider-Man in that lane. It moves itself out. Vision. The idea is to fill up one of the lanes and get max value out of Elsa. Try to play cards there and just keep getting buffs on those cards. Move them around. Be a little bit unpredictable. Solid deck, and again, very flexible deck. I have not tried it. I've seen people play it. I was never a big fan of Move. However, I'm going to give this a shot today. Looks really fun. Elsa has been one of my favorite card releases in a long time, so definitely check this out. If you like Eliath, if you're one of those people, I love Eliath. I love him. I love playing him. I hate when he gets played against me. It's unbelievably infuriating. Iron Patriot. Nothing changed here. No Elsa added. It's the same list. It's worth noting that I think that Surfer Elsa is severely underrated. I have a deck video on my channel, actually, if you guys want to go check that out. I went from 70 to Infinite within 24 hours of starting to play that deck, and I just had a blast with it. It seems very strong. It's very explosive on turn 6, and I think that everyone should try it. I think it's very underrated. It runs Killmonger in there with Nova, and I think right now, with not a lot of armors out and a lot of people trying to fill up lanes with a lot of 1-drops, Killmonger is really effective. So I would give that deck a shot. But Iron Patriot, obviously, proven deck. It's the same list. Again, no real changes here. It has a 61% win rate in Conquest, so clearly the new cards have not affected it too much. However, I encourage you guys to try Elsa right now. There's just pure chaos, and it's a lot of fun. Then we have Loki Collector. I thought this would struggle a lot more with Mobius in the game and with Kitty Pryde having the changes that she has. It's still overall a really good deck. I'm not going to go over it too much. It has Elsa added in there. We've seen Loki Collector for the last few weeks. So it's another Loki deck. I thought it would struggle a little bit more with Mobius, but it's not. It's not, you know, tier one according to the stats. Apparently at top level play, it is still tier 1. But I'm not a super top level player. I'm above rank 100 at the moment, or rank 1000 at the moment, but that's not considered top tier at all. Next up, Shuri Sauron, Old Faithful. I talk about this every week about how much I don't think that it's one of the best decks in the game, but clearly I'm horribly mistaken. And it's here. It is in tier 2. It floats between tier 2 and tier 1, depending on the week and depending on the current meta. But if you are looking to just be consistent and do what you're trying to do, Shuri Sauron, it's a deck. It's a deck. Next up, Evolved Doomwave. Again, we've seen this over and over, so not talking about it too much. I thought this would also struggle with Mobius. It kind of goes both ways with Wave. It reduces the cost of your cards. It increases the cost of your opponent's cards. If your opponent plays Mobius, your Wave is essentially useless. If you have Mobius and you play it, it gets even better for you. So it kind of synergizes and counters Wave at the same time. But it's still doing pretty good, and I think it's just because High Evolutionary as a package is just solid. Being able to just play play Doom and Hulk on turn 6 are just both very strong cards. And I just think the package as a whole, even if you don't get Wave into Doom, it is just good. It's just a solid deck and proving to be solid even with counters like Mobius in the game. Not a whole lot of counters against this deck, which is why I think it is performing really well in Conquest. It just does what it's trying to do very well, and is very consistent at it. Deadpool Destroy is bumped up from tier 3. Destroy decks are a lot of fun. I highly encourage you to give this one a shot, especially now that armor is not in the meta. It's a lot easier to do what you're trying to do with this deck, which is why it's probably bumped up into tier 2. And getting big Deadpools, getting extra energy with X23 is just fun as a whole. Is it the most competitive deck in the game? No. Is it going to get there soon? I don't think so. But with certain cards shifted out of the meta, that lets you be able to play this fairly confidently. It's worth noting though, if you're seeing a lot of Mobiuses in the meta, it's going to be very hard to play Death at a discounted price. A lot of the times when you play Death, you want to play her on turn 6 for 0. And if your opponent drops a turn 2 Mobius, you just kind of have to shrug and hope to win without Death. You just have a dead card in your hand or in your deck. So that's one of the struggles with this deck. I don't think you can replace Death. Like, I even think just having her as a dead card sometimes and then being able to play her for 0 sometimes is just better than playing something else. But possibly experiment with playing something else there if you're seeing a lot of Mobiuses. But I'm glad this deck is getting its time in tier 2 and just not sitting where it has been in tier 3, just floating around there. Next up, the deck that I'm most excited for is Thor Miracle. It is an Elsa deck. It is a Mobius deck. It's a dump a bunch of cards and get a big hit monkey deck. It has a 57% win rate, and it just looks, at first glance, this deck looks like just like a fun list. Like, ooh, this is interesting. But at 57% win rate, it's actually pretty good. Your ability to use Wasp and a Yellow Jacket to fill up lanes very quickly so that you can get value out of Elsa is fantastic. Mobius helping with discounted stuff and counters that your opponent may have. Again, fantastic. Super fun deck. This is the most interesting part of the meta right now. I love when new deck archetypes like this pop up. I don't know if this was a thing before. It seems like it. I mean, I'm sure people have tried it in the past, but as far as being competitive, not quite there. But with Elsa, the ability to buff cards and just get extra power out of things is really good. I think Elsa is just a really good card. If you don't have the season pass, I encourage you to buy it. This is one of those cards, just like last month where everyone wanted it because of Loki. Same thing with Elsa. I think everyone should buy this season pass. And then we get down into tier 3. I don't cover these most of the time. Discard Dracula, I think, has just been at the head of tier 3 most of the time. Thanos Control, I ran this for a while. It's just a fun deck. It's Thanos Control. Being able to play Thanos in this meta in any way, shape, or form is just fantastic. And then Hella Discard, we've seen it before. Ramp, all the way down here. I think it's struggling a little bit because of Mobius. And then Junk. Junk is here. It's new onto the tier list. And this is the one that I mainly wanted to point out. I haven't tried it. I've had people play it against me, against my Elsa decks. Sometimes it's annoying, and sometimes I just don't care. The idea is to try to clog up that last spot on your opponent's board that they're playing Elsa, and force them to not get as much value out of their Elsa. I think you're going to see this creep up a little bit more with all of the Elsas that are in the meta, but currently it's sitting at tier 3. I do want to make a quick note. I think with all of the decks that are in the game right now, I think Shadow King is severely underplayed. I think it's severely underrated. The ability to get, I mean, what is he, a 2-2? He's a 2-3. And the ability to get him to equate to 210 in stats is so easy. It's, if we scroll through some of these lists, things like move with Kitty, with Angela, getting constant buffs, with Elsa with the +3s. If you're playing a deck that dumps a bunch of cards on the last turn, Shadow King is just really good. A lot of these cards, Shadow King is really effective against. Loki Collector, Shadow King is just fantastic. That Collector gets out of hand, the Angela, the Kitty Pryde, anything gets out of hand, you just turn it off. Granted, they do have Luke Cage here in this list. I don't think all lists were running Luke Cage in the past. They are now. But again, for the lists that aren't running Luke Cage or the games that don't have Luke Cage, fantastic. Thor Miracle, again, really good against the Elsa buffs, the Angela buffs, Kitty Pryde, Thor, Hitmonkey, Bishop, pretty much all the cards. I think Shadow King is very, very underutilized in the current meta. Will he crack top meta decks? I'm not sure, but I have run him in the Surfer deck that I have on my channel. I replaced, I believe, Polaris. I threw Shadow King in. I know he's a 2-drop, but he's won me a lot of games, and he's been really effective in my infinite grind. So anyways, that's the tier list for this week. I do one of these for Conquest and Ladder every week on Marvel Snap Zone's YouTube channel. So subscribe to Marvel Snap Zone if you aren't already. Go check out my channel. I do deck videos, bundle breakdowns, all that stuff. All things Marvel Snap. So check out my channel if you haven't already. And as usual, if you love all things Marvel Snap, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you in the next one.